Hello guys, and welcome to this new video. Today I'm going to show you this awesome technique from the Texturelabs YouTube channel, which is about Photoshop and After Effects, but I'm importing the same exact technique into Fusion. So let me show you what we are going to create here. So as you can see, it's a nice burning effect with some embers and some particle effect, and this is 100% procedural and there is no particle involved in this. One more thing, I'm going to add a link in the description where you can download the scene file for a small price. Okay, let's get started with this. I'm using this text node as the object that I'm burning, but remember that this could be anything actually. Just be sure that it has an alpha channel. So what I'm going to do here is to add a filter node, and I'm going to choose the grain and deselect the animated power 2, so that we have this kind of paper-y effect on my text here. And also we want to add a background node and merge the text on top of my background. Okay, so this is basically what we are going to be burning. So we need a burning map. So kind of something that drives the way of the burning happens. So to do that, we're going to use a fast noise, or maybe more than one, but anyway. We want to move into the color tab and choose gradient. And the gradient type to radial. And we want to place our gradient where we prefer, and let's move into the noise settings, maybe discontinuous and inverted, and bring high up the details and decrease the scale a little bit, maybe add some CD rate so there's some nice animation in the noise. And then we want to move back to frame 0 and into the color tab, just add one keyframe to the offset here, and we want to go -1 in the offset, maybe a little bit more, since until we cannot see the noise anymore. And then we want to move to frame 160 or 180, whatever you want, and move this back to 2. Maybe more than 2, since we want the frame to be completely black. And so yeah, let's see what happens here. And as you can see, the noise spreads like if it was kind of burning. So to bring this one a step further, we can copy the fast noise and paste it and add a merge node and multiply the second noise on top of the other. And maybe we want to just let's view the merge here. We want to place this in a little bit differently, maybe something like that. Let's have a look. Yeah, I think something like that is nice. Maybe we want to change the CD rate a little bit and decrease the brightness and contrast. And now what we want to do is to grab our text and merge it on top of our burning map, and we want to overlay our text on top of it. Okay, this looks nice. So now what we want to do is to add a couple of nodes here after the merge, and that would be a brightness contrast. And we want to add also a blur node. And in the brightness contrast, what we want to do is just to remove completely saturation. And this happens because we are going to be using this as an alpha. So we don't want to have any color information in this. And in the blur, we want to add a value of 4.5 or maybe 5. And then after our merge 3 here, we want to add another brightness contrast. And what we want to do here is to increase the contrast so that we basically have black and white image without any of these midtones. So to do that, we want to clip the black and the whites and move the high and the low until we get something like this. Maybe we want to blur this a little bit more, something like that. Let's go 6. So what we want to do now is to use this black and white map to hide some of the text here. So we can add a channel booleans and connect text and our map, and we want to multiply. Let's use the red channel on all of our inputs, and this is the result. Okay, so now we want to use this same burning map, and we want to add another brightness contrast, and we want to do the same, clip the black and the whites, and this time we want to have just a little bit more midtones here, and we want to add a blur node, and we want to add a color corrector, and we want to merge this one on top, and for now just set it to multiply. And if I blur, as you can see, we get this darkening effect, and this is exactly what we want. We can then color correct this one and bring that into the amber color here. Yeah, something like that's perfect. And we want to add a wireless node. By the way, you can find this one on Reactor. So this one would be the alpha, and we grab the filter and drop it into the input, so we have this alpha, which will come handy later. And we want to add another wireless node, and this one is going to be this map here, and we're going to drop the merge 3 as an input, and we're going to call this one burn matte. Okay, now what we want to do is to grab a copy of our burn matte and paste an instance so that the link will remain active. And we want to add a brightness contrast, and again clip black and white and do the same like so. Now we want to add a channel booleans, and it's going to be used for invert this map, and to do that we want to do nothing in the alpha, and the operation we want to set it to negative. We are inverting our matte, and we want to add another channel booleans, and this one is going to be set to do nothing in the alpha and multiply, and this is the result. Oh, sorry. You have to use the brightness contrast as an input. And as you can see, what we have here is just the edge of our burn map. And if we merge these on top of our scene and set the merge to screen, this is what we have. And as you can see, is some kind of burning edge. So we want to grab a copy of the alpha and paste an instance and use that as a mask. And then we want to add a blur node between the brightness contrast and the negative. We want to add a displace node, and we will need a fast noise and a create bump map. So just pipe the fast noise into the bump map, and let's tweak the fast noise a little bit. Something like that should do. And in the displace node we want to move into the X and Y, and we want to set the X offset and Y offset to -0.5. Right click on the Y refraction, add an expression, drag to the x-ray fraction, so when we move one will be linked to the other. So if I look at these channel booleans, if I increase the height scale when I'm increasing the refraction, this is what happens. And as you can see, this is a pretty nice effect. Okay, so now what we want to do is to go into the merge node here and change from screen to color dodge. And maybe we want to add a blur node, and before that we want to add a brightness contrast node, and maybe we want to just decrease the gain just a touch. And yeah, that's working pretty well. If you feel that the animation is too fast, we can always go into the too fast noises, open the spline editor. Here on these three dots we can select show only selected, enable the fast noises, command F or control F to fit the curves and move a few frames ahead. Well, let's see what happens. Yeah, I feel this is a little bit better. Yeah, perfect. Now, what we want to do is to create a little bit of smoke, which will add a little bit more depth to this effect. So what we want to do is again grab a burn matte copy, paste an instance here. Again, we want to add a brightness contrast, clip black and white, and again, same thing. Just want this to be a little bit less. And now what we want to do is to add our channel booleans. Use copy, and we are going to use white for all of our channels, and to alpha we're going to use red. And we are going to add a alpha multiply, and here we have exactly what we needed. So at this point we are going to use a kind of outdated node, but in this case works wonders, and is the trails node. So let's have a look at the trails. Set the gain to 0.92, and let's have a look. Yeah, this is exactly what we need. And now we can increase the scale just a touch, the blur size just a touch, and also rotation just a touch. And let's see the result. Yeah, that's perfect. What we want to do now is to grab a copy of the alpha here, past an instance, and we want to use the trails node, move into the settings and multiply it by mask, so that the effect will happen only inside of our alpha. And we want to grab another copy of our burn matte, paste an instance, add a brightness contrast, I'm going to use a brightness contrast here, and say again, pipe into the mask, into the setting, channel luminance, apply mask inverted, multiply by mask. Let's see the result. And this is exactly what we needed. So if I screen these on top of our text, this is what happens. Okay, so we can use these brightness contrast to make this happen a little bit later than the actual burning of the text. And now we just have to add a blur node. And now we have to add a fast noise, and we want to multiply this fast noise on top, and we want to add some scale here, something like that, some CD, and let's add a expression here on the center of our fast noise and type in math.rad parentheses time divided by 20 closed parentheses. Let's have a look at the result. Looks cool to me. Let's add a little bit more blur, and maybe we can add another fast noise followed by a create bump map and just add a displace node. And we have to do the same as before. Move into XY, offset minus 0.5, link the Y refraction to the X refraction, view the displace, add some height, maybe we want to decrease the scale, add some detail, and here spread, and see the result. Oh, of course we will have to increase the refraction. We have to add some CD rate. Let's see the result. Let's watch it on top of the text. Now what we want to do is to decrease the blend, and let's go for something like that. Maybe we want to have the smoke last a little bit longer, and so we have to go into the trails node and move the gain to 94 or maybe 95 and see what's the difference. Yeah, works perfectly. So now what we want to do is to grab another burn matte copy, and maybe we want to move all these down here. Okay, now we want to add again our brightness contrast, and as always clip black and white and crash the low and high, and something like that. And again we want to do the same using the channel boolean and the alpha multiply, so we're going to copy those and paste them here, so we have the same exact setup. And we're going to use another copy of the trails node, and in here we want to go 0.97 or maybe 96, I don't know. Let's go 96, and we want to add some blur, reset, and see what's the deal here. Yeah, perfect. What we want to do now is to add a fast noise again, and we want to multiply over this trail node, but we want to set the blend to 0.5, and we want this to be set to 50 in the scale, brightness -1, contrast 5, and again we want to add a expression to the center here, and we want to type in math.rad parentheses time divided by 15 close parentheses, and let's see what's the result. So So we want to add maybe some CD rate here. Yeah, something like so. So now we want to add a brightness contrast. Sorry, let me get rid of this spline editor. In this brightness contrast, we want to again clip black and whites, set the low to 0.5, and so let's view this, and the high to be something like that actually. And then we want to copy this fast noise, and we want to multiply this fast noise, maybe change the CD a little bit, just to add a little bit of texture in here. So this is the result. And yet again, we want to grab a copy of the alpha. Sorry, here we want to paste an instance, place it into the merge, settings, multiply by mask. So this happens only within the text. And then we want to add a brightness contrast and clip black and whites from here, place it into here, something like that. And we have to apply the mask inverted and multiply by masks. We need this one set to luminance, and we can see our embers. So maybe they last a little bit too long, so we can go into the trails here and switch to 0.95 and see the result. Yeah, I think something like that works perfectly. So now we can add a color corrector, and we can merge these on top and set this one to screen. So let's have a quick look here. Let's add a couple of things here. So in the color corrector, we want to move to the embers color here, so that we have some kind of fiery look. And we want to add a fast expo glow, which is a macro I made, you can find on Reactor. And we want to increase the saturation here and maybe make those pop a little bit. And here we want to add another fast expo glow here, but this time we want to use these as a matte for our fast expo glow, and we're going to use a bitmap node to do that. And we're going to select the luminance for the alpha, and now all we have to do is to here invert our matte, and then we can happily apply our glow. Yeah, something like that will do. And let's see everything together. It's starting to come together. Okay. Okay, so what we want to do now is, again, we have to go back to our burn matte and add another one. And what we want to do is again add a brightness contrast, same as always, clip the black and whites and crush the high and the low, since we have something like this. And then we want to invert our map using a channel booleans, and again it's going to be do nothing to the alpha and negative. And we want to add blur node and something like, maybe something like that, let's say 24. And then we're going to need another fast noise, and let's show the tile picture here. And all we have to do is basically push the detail up to 10 and set the scale to 7.5, and we want to pipe our blur into the mask input of our fast noise, move into the setting tab and multiply by mask and luminance. So we want to grab the blur and multiply it on top of our fast noise, something like that. And now we want to add a create bump map, and you know how it is. We want to add a displace node and pipe the bump map in. And again, as always, we want to move to XY, offset set to -0.5 and link the two refractions. Maybe we want to add just a touch of spread here. Let's have a look, and we want to, yeah, maybe minus point something like this, maybe. Okay, let's have a look. Yeah, I think it works. We may want one last tweak here, just a little bit less spread here, and that would be coming back to our brightness contrast here, and we may want this to be a little bit less aggressive, something like so. And this one also could be a little bit less aggressive, something like that. Okay guys, remember that you can change your text here with whatever you want. It can be a different text, it can be a logo, it can be everything. Just remember that it has to have an alpha. Okay, so let's say we want to switch this burnout logo for these. Okay, so in this case, these doesn't have an alpha. If you watch, there's no alpha. So how are we gonna do that? In this case, just it's gonna be simple. So for example, just add a luma here, and let's just add an alpha, and let's see what happens. So if you want to dig deeper into this technique, be sure to download the comp file from the link in the description. And I think this is a wrap for me. I hope you guys like this one, and thank you very much for watching, and see you in the next one. Bye bye.